2, 1. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Have We Made It Yet podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, the comedian portion, Mr. Josh Young, and I'm joined with my co-host, the actor known as Lucas Ing.
Thank you.
Wait, I was supposed to throw it to you, and then you say, I totally just introed you, regardlessly. But yeah, so welcome to the podcast. We're basically two creatives starting their journey on the process of making it in comedy or in acting. And we thought we'd start this podcast just to give a little insight into the process, the ups and downs, trials and tribulations of trying to make it, whatever that means to each and individual person. So yeah, that's the premise of the podcast, and we like to have guests on, and today we have a great guest that Lucas has a good connection with. So yeah, without further ado, let's go to the first question of our podcast that we like to ask each other as co-hosts, as the ones who are trying to also make it. Lucas, have you made it yet?
Josh, that was such a roundabout way to ask that question.
Was it roundabout? It might have been.
It felt like it. But anyways, no. We're back on the horse. No, I have not made it yet. But, and I know I say this a lot, maybe 70 plus times worth, I feel like I'm in the right place right now. In addition to my acting stuff, I'm getting good job offers for my 9-to-5 job, which is also in the film industry. And I was just telling Josh before, I'm getting like a pretty big title bump. I'll be able to earn a little bit more money to fund this whole acting endeavor. Now, the next struggle, as I had mentioned to Josh, is going to be how to handle more responsibilities, plus balancing acting, as that craft is unpredictable in terms of how you will book jobs, when you will book jobs, and all that stuff. So that will be another lesson for me to learn. One thing that I have been recently meditating on is that whole instance of the more successful you are in life is how you are able to adapt to instability. And I am learning to let go of things a lot easier now. So hopefully with that new mantra that I can adapt to it as it comes. So that's my whole thing. And plus Vancouver, just the quality of auditions are a lot better. I do have to say. Yeah.
As in like in person or self-tape?
Still all self-tape, but just like the productions that are happening here. It's It's getting up there. So I mean, like, I don't want to compare too much because I'm only in this city for like, 3 months now, but hopefully I made the right choice. Yeah, we'll see. Mr. Josh Young, have you made it yet?
I have not made it yet. Though the last weekend I did do 2 shows. I was able to get 2 shows, one Friday, one Sunday. The Friday one was great. Did 7 minutes. It was very tight. Got good response. And then Sunday night, I did 15 minutes on a show.
Oh.
Yes. And it was an absolute bomb. It was like a big, beautiful mushroom cloud of bombing and silence. Yeah, it was great. It was great because, I mean, I did it at the end of the show, which already had like 4 or 5 other comedians that also did 15 minutes. So it was like good experience to realize the dynamics of long shows and like how the shows are set up. Because like towards the end, I think everybody was also there is a thing as too much comedy. Like like an audience has to be like kind of like engaged, throughout even like a long show. So I realized like long shows with more comedians doing like 7-8 minute sets is actually has a good rhythm going, because then you can get like jokes, like if you got a good set followed by another good set followed by another good set, then the audience is like fully engaged. But then sometimes like with 15-minute sets, you take your time, you slow your pace down. Comedian styles are like a little bit different as well. So I think I realized is like, man, once it got to me and I was doing some of my like tried and true jokes that like work all the time, just to get into it, and then I move on to other material, like those were getting nothing.
Ooh.
And it was like, it was like empty silence. It was one of the first few times where it's like I could feel the silence. So it threw me off a little bit. So I was like, oh man, what's happening? So I kind of like broke my, almost like monotone persona on stage, and was a little bit more loose and like just talking, just spewing random stuff out of my mouth, but then like trying to get back on track with what I had prepared. But either way, it was like most of the jokes didn't get an audible laugh, but I could kind of see some of the audience members like smiling. It's like, oh, they're listening to the jokes. Okay, sure. But it was like not getting really any kind of laughing responses. And at that point, it's like, okay, it seems like the audience is kind of taken out of it a bit. It's pretty late. So it's like that could be an element to it, because I knew the jokes that I'd tried like over and over and over again and always usually gets a laugh or a response weren't getting anything. It's like, okay, maybe it's not necessarily me, but it was good to be thrown in that situation, because I don't think I was in that kind of just like blank stares at me experience. So it was a good experience to have. It taught me some stuff. Failing helps teach you experiences, and you learn more from failures sometimes than you do from success. So it was good. It was a good experience. And then I just have another show coming up later this week. No, last week when this airs. So, a couple shows here and there. But nope, haven't made it yet. But maybe it feels like I'm a little bit, one step back is equals to two steps forward, that kind of thing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Dude, I wish I was there, man.
No, you don't. It was brutal. Not only that, I brought like 6-7 people, which was like almost a third or half the audience. And by the time it came to me, I was just dying.
And they didn't laugh?
Well, they didn't. Well, some of them laughed because they've already heard some of the jokes before. Some of the new stuff, I got a couple chuckles out. But it was like at that point, like I don't blame anybody. It was like a long ass show. So
right,
it was interesting. It's definitely interesting.
Okay. Well, here, we're not going to bomb this one. Okay. Yeah. We do have a third panel today, Josh. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Hit me.
Okay. So like a lot of our guests on this show, I have not yet had the privilege of physically meeting our next guest, but that hasn't stopped us from collaborating. I was introduced to him as I applied to be in his proof of concept / trailer for his recently finished series, Streams Flow from a River, a series written, created, and directed by him, which we'll go into more detail later tonight. I had the opportunity to chat with him as I was drawn to the project and the themes of the immigrant story, generational trauma, communication struggles that I identified with. Our conversation opened up so many parts of myself that I felt I hadn't fully addressed within myself. It truly felt like a chat with a longtime friend, and I think that's what separates our next guest from so many others. His care in his words, his kindness, grace, and acceptance for who I was truly allowed me to open up, and for that, I'm eternally grateful. He's been mentioned in Playback's 10 to Watch and most recently participated in Banff Media Festival's Diversity of Voices pitch program. His most recent work, the series Streams Flow from a River, had recently received Bell Media funding, and if the trailer of the series is any indication, it will be incredible when it comes out in its entirety. He's truly an artist's artist. Please give it up for Christopher Yip.
Oh my God, come on, Lucas, that's too much. It's like, Asians who can't deal with compliments. Like, that's crazy. Thank you. Thanks for having me on the show. And it's like having your parents actually say I love you. It's like, oh my God, what the fuck? What's happening? But
we love you, Chris.
Oh, well, I mean, you ask me the question and then I'll tell you how things are going. But, yeah.
He's prepared. He's seen the show.
I do my best.
Awesome. As we start off with every episode, Chris, have you made it yet?
I'd say give me 2 years. Not yet, but give me 2 years. I think, Josh and Lucas, you guys are in the entertainment industry in Canada. Everything moves as slow as molasses. I think that's the same with where I am too. We have less money, we have less population. It's just like not LA or anything like that. But I think I'm on my way. Like the series, which just finished, we're still like editing it, and it's due at the end of the summer, but it's looking good, and it's nice to be on the other side of shooting it. 15-day shoot, which was very intense and many trials and tribulations, but it's on the way there, and there's some other things I'm working on. But this shit is hard. Like it's really really, on top of like not really seeing people like yourself in the industry, not really having role models who look like you. It's like a war of attrition. It's like it's a marathon, not a sprint, that sort of thing, right? So you really have to take care of your mental health. And shout out to my therapist, and everybody. Every artist needs therapy, I'm in it for the long haul. But I have not yet made it yet. Give me 2 more years. Yeah.
Wow. So we have a timeline. So come June 20th, 2024. Yes. Okay. Just to also like expand on that idea though, what would be your it in making it?
Yeah, I think I've been working on a feature film for a long time. It's kind of like the story that I wished I saw as a kid. And also I think like when I decided to throw in everything in the film industry, I was just tired of seeing like really the same stories over and over again, and also stories that didn't feature anyone who looked like me or us. So Fishboy is the story that my partner at the time, I was like, oh, I've had this life-changing epiphany. I'm gonna go into film. And she was like, okay, where's your script? And I was like, oh shit. So then, I worked on it and wrote it, and it was nice. It's slightly autobiographical, but a big part of it is like, it's based on my growing up in a very Chinese and very Christian household, and kind of feeling really like I didn't belong. I think a lot of kids grow up feeling like that. I mean, maybe you guys did too, because identity stuff, having a foot in your Asian identity and like Canadian identity, and growing up in that kind of environment, and then feeling like torn between the two and blah blah blah. But I think that's why it's so encouraging. We've seen a lot more Asian centered projects lately. Turning Red, so good. Everything Everywhere, so good. It's just nice that our stories are finally seen as like good enough, or like, oh, like everybody's interested in this kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you touched on it just now too, but I was just reading in a playback article where you had said you wanted to be like a good immigrant kid before you went into film, like being a doctor, a lawyer, engineer type of stuff and everything. Can you go into a little bit more detail about that internal clash that you had between like what you had actually aspired to be, but also that internal clash within you of managing expectations from your immigrant upbringing?
Yeah, it was pretty, I grew up the eldest of 3 boys, and like a lot of kids in general, you just really, you really want your parents' approval when you're growing up, because it's like, these are the people who love me the best, and I just want to give some of that love back. But I think the older I got, and the more like creative stuff I did, and the more and more my grades in math and science were like trash. my parents were just like, what are you doing? Like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, I have no idea. I wrote the LSAT twice. I really went hard for it. Didn't like no affinity. Like I was just really bad, but I was pretty good at writing and like English. And it was, I had a pretty lonely childhood, went to the library a lot, played lots of video games and anime and movies and stuff. But I think that helped me be a good storyteller. It was just hard because like many immigrant parents, they're just like, what are you going to do with this though? Like, how are you going to turn it into job security for yourself and for your kids in the future? So I think that was an impasse that we reached, and it is hard to kind of like grow out of your parents' household. It's painful, like to kind of like build healthy boundaries, but also it's no way to live for other people, right? That's a pretty sad life to live.
Yeah. And you had also mentioned this other thing too. I saw that you were at the Future of Film showcase yesterday, right?
Yeah.
And I had already wrote this question up, but you had already reposted it on your story on Instagram. You said back in Japan, because you've had many travels throughout your whole life. You studied in University of Alberta, University of Saskatchewan. You also taught English in Japan there too. And you had mentioned that was like your midlife crisis at the same time.
Yeah.
But also that was
quarter
the moment.
life. I'm not that old. So.
quarter life. Like, my bad, Chris.
With COVID, maybe all of our life expectancy is like 45. Who knows?
Oh my God, Chris. Oh
like,
my God.
Yeah. Josh, like Toronto's like it's people are out. Like people are just like out and about. I mean, it's good because like, you know, you're doing shows and you're able to like with like stand up and stuff. It's so hard during the pandemic, right? But I don't know about you, but yeah, there's like an energy in the air now that COVID is kind of settling down. It's like, guys, let's make out for lost time and like let's get out. Yeah.
Well, especially for Toronto, because like we had the worst in North America. We had I think I remember seeing an article somewhere saying that like in terms of restrictions and lockdowns and going back on lockdowns, total days or whatever, Toronto had the worst out of all like major cities in North America. And then mix that in with the winter. It's like, come on, what if it's just like it's just annual, not seasonal affective disorders, like annual affective disorder at a certain point for the last couple of years. So yeah, it's nice to see the city come back alive. A lot more bars are open, shows now. I mean, all mask restrictions have been lifted recently, right? So
which is still weird, but
yeah, at a certain point right now, it's kind of like life is just moving on because it's interesting when it comes to international or like big health policy or whatever. It turns out if everybody's just annoyed by it enough, they'll just move on. That's just the policy now. Is just we'll just see how
cogs and capitalism have to go again. Then it's like, don't worry about it. It's fine. Yeah. And it's like, damn, okay, I guess we're all over COVID. It's crazy. Like, yeah, going on the train and like just out and about, like, and people are just like, no mask. It's like, cool. I think what? Like, it's just crazy. I got COVID like just like 3 weeks ago after shooting the series, which is like perfect time, right? So like 15 days of like super intense shoot. My body's already like, basically the shoot served my body up on a platter to COVID. I knew I was going to be out for a few days, but then with COVID on top of that, I was like, oh, I'm dead. It was bad. Like it was like a week and a half. I was like out. But you're still like full negative?
Oh, no. I got it literally like 2 weeks after arriving in Vancouver, and it just sucks, man. Yeah.
I got a couple months ago. And then there was like a period afterwards where it feels like, you do have a bit of like a brain fog or like your head's not fully there. I feel like it's gotten better the last month or so. It's like it's been a few months. But I mean, at this stage, is like it doesn't matter how many cases go up anymore, as long as like, you know, we're all pretty much immunized and there's like treatments now for it afterwards. And as long as hospitals don't get overrun, I think that's just it. That's just the main thing. As long as hospitals and not everybody's going to be as fucked up by it, then we're good to change it from pandemic to endemic to like, it's like the influenza or the flu now. It's just part of our lives.
I hope so. Like part of me is nervous about the energy that we have about like people who are like, oh, let's just go back to the way things were. It's like, not like it's like that tweet that was like you know, they watched the Avengers movies, like the Marvel movies, and they're like, wow, people were snapped away for 2 years and nobody's gonna look at this like international trauma. That's crazy. And then it's like real life, it's like, oh shit, like that's what we're doing right now. You can't go back to the way things were, but I at least there's a lot more hope, right? So it's like, like COVID isn't maybe life-threatening. There's like, you know, you get some rest, herd immunity, that sort of thing. And it's nice for I think, I'm curious about, yeah, you, Lucas, and Josh, like, have you felt in your industries that things are opening up again, that you have more opportunities because, like, this summer compared to last summer or maybe just a few months ago?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do feel if that like productions are like opening up a lot more, but at the same time, like what you just said about the shared changes that we all go through as an industry, even after COVID, I am so grateful for self tapes. You know, yeah, like just the fact that I get to like do what I do in my own home. I have like a big backdrop right over there, right behind me. But the fact that I can like do my 9 to 5, send in my self tape after, and if I really do book a gig, then take a vacation day. It's just the flexibility that has now afforded me the opportunity to also make money and also fulfill my own craft too. So it's just good stuff, man.
Yeah, and definitely shows. I mean, that was the main thing. It's interesting. After I started doing comedy, I'd done it for like maybe 7-8 months before the pandemic started, and it was like I was really happy discovering this new thing and being able to go and do shows. And then it's like nothing's gonna stop me. And then it's like what can stop me really? You know? And it's like the one thing that can stop comedy, because like even through the market crash of 08 or like, you know, recessions or the economy's bad, it's like bars are still open, people can still go listen to comedy, people can still make jokes about it. It's the one thing, a global international pandemic that shut down society for good. It's like, what? Oh, well, that sucks. That's terrible timing. But now that, you know, I mean, things were periodically open throughout the last few years, and some people were like doing kind of not so
like not like official, but
not
backyard
so
shows
official,
and stuff. It's just
at
like
people's homes. It's like, oh, is this the limit, whatever. So I managed to do just a couple shows that were more outdoor in the park, those type of things, but didn't really get back into it until like this summer, where everything feels much more normal and everybody feels more comfortable doing going out as well. So
I wonder if like our careers will accelerate closer to make it status because things are opening up, you know, fingers crossed, knock on wood. Because I mean, Lucas, when we met last year, I was in a dark place. Like, you know, I was working on the teaser and prepping for that, but it was hard. Like, like it was super bleak, you know, just like world wise. You know, it was harder to, as a creative, like harder to, I was lucky to be in some writers' rooms for like kids TV, because the kids TV industry is very healthy in Canada. But, you know, what I really want to do, which is like write and direct, you know, Asian focused stories, live action. How can you do that when there's a pandemic? And like, especially if you're working with an indie budget, you don't have like, you know, Netflix money to throw at masks or COVID
precautions and PPE and stuff like that.
So it was pretty tough last year, and I'm grateful that things have changed so much now. But I'm quite hopeful.
It's funny you mentioned that, because that was one of the key takeaways that I had when I first met with you, was that things were not bleak. You had such a hopeful spirit within it that I didn't catch that dark spell that potentially you were under. Can you talk a bit more about how you came out of that?
I don't know if I know, but maybe I think like last year was just it was a lot of shit. Like the big one was all the anti-Asian hate shit going on, and then the Atlanta shootings happened, and then I had my own run-in with fucking anti-Asian hate in downtown Toronto. I was buying groceries, and some white lady was just like, fucking Asians, and I was like, it was crazy. Like, what? Downtown Toronto? Like, I grew up in Edmonton, right? Like, I know Edmonton's bad. I know Alberta's bad. I don't know if you guys know, Alberta is the last province with official KKK chapter in Canada. So it's done now. But like, a little bit of Albertan history. But like downtown Toronto, like Yonge and Dundas, just like right in the center, and I was like, God damn. And like there was some family stuff too, like a few months before that, there was an outbreak of COVID at my grandpa's elderly home, and he passed away,
Oh,
along
I'm
with a
sorry.
lot of other, along with a lot of other like elderly and stuff. And this is like before vaccines and that sort of thing. And my father this was a big inspiration for the series, which is all about the things that are passed down from generation to generation, but also very much about how our parents, understandably, to deal with trauma, they don't tell us shit. Like, they just hold it in. They carry so much, and then they try to protect us from this kind of stuff. But we know them. We figure out that our parents are carrying a lot, and it trickles down to us anyways. But I think seeing how my father dealt with, like my grandpa's passing, he came home from seeing at the hospital, and like he couldn't even hold his hand, right, because of COVID. And he like showered, changed his clothes, and sat down to Zoom with us. And my Abba is like a typical stoic Asian dad, and he was just telling us, he was like, I said goodbye. And I was the first one who cried, right? Like, I was the one who cried, and then he cried. And I think it's, it's a very Asian thing, very masculine thing. But with that going hand in hand with elderly being attacked on the street, right? Or a lot of elderly facing so much vitriol for fucking nothing. It's just so crazy that, like, if you don't, it's just insane to think of like seeing someone who looks like your grandparent on the street and like seeing them as like, I need to hurt this person. Because, when you're walking through Chinatown and, our elderly can be very spicy, very intense. But, it's like seeing them walk around and stuff. It's like, that's like so cute. Long answer, but a lot of stuff was happening last year. And I think that the shootings in particular, it was really hard to pull myself out of that. And it wasn't, I'll say it wasn't like this beautiful, sometimes like I turn my like fucking avatar airbended my grief into creativity. No, it was a very painful, like depressive season of my life. But I think through support of loved ones and therapy, which helped a lot, emerging a little bit, try to focus on taking care of myself in different ways.
It's kind of funny how this series idea came to be then, just because COVID, I felt, of course, no one could predict COVID, but it almost felt like a major catalyst for, no, I wouldn't say catalyst, but at the same time, it blends in well with the themes of streams and the isolation of COVID, which did bring everyone together, like how your premise is everyone's trapped because of a snowstorm. Have you incorporated themes of the loneliness or the themes that you have of COVID into that story?
Yeah, definitely. I think, like I was saying, it's very much our parents and our elderly who are facing difficult times. And even for example, like there are the GoFundMes for elderly who are attacked. And in the GoFundMe, it's like, I'm the grandchild of this person. They didn't want to make a fuss. They didn't want to raise any money. They actually are going to donate all their money. And it's just like a 76-year-old Asian lady, right? Like, but it's something, they can face this kind of racism and violence, but they won't say anything. And I think, I just wanted to create a space where, our parents could just open up a little bit or feel like they don't have to care or like keep things in or hold things in all the time. So definitely COVID touched on that, especially because, people aren't near their families. Like sometimes, like I only saw my parents, I flew back to Edmonton last Christmas, which was, of course, super nerve-wracking because Alberta has very different COVID policy than Toronto. Right. But I went to my cousin's wedding and there were like 200 people in a dim sum restaurant, and I was like, "What's happening?" Like, it's crazy. But I think, like in that time of separation and isolation. It was trying to think of like, what does the community need? What kind of like do I want to see, the stories that I want to see right now? And I took a lot of inspiration from like Asian movies that I watched from like Taiwan or Japan, and just like very like family dramas that had complicated families, like who were family members who were split apart, but they went through something together and maybe grew a little closer. But
no, I think it's definitely reflective of how not only just say our specific experience over the last few years relating to like Asian immigrant families or just the immigrant experiences. It seems like everybody in the world had like in a period of time where it's like suddenly everything stopped, like you suddenly now have more space to think about shit about your life and like where you are. And then now we're seeing huge changes in people's life decisions or life choices and realizing it's like, why am I still doing the same thing that I did before the pandemic? And now after the pandemic, everybody's like coming out of it kind of. I'm wondering then in terms of like, say like your next project you said was Fishboy, and then maybe like even the next project moving forward, do you feel like continuing on a theme of like more hope or like more reflection or like moving forward? Is there do you feel like there's now a thematic journey moving forward that you want to tap into?
I think it depends on the project. I think Streams is very much, it's like 6 episodes. It might be 5, it might be 6, but each of the episodes takes a perspective of a different character. In particular, like it takes, since our parents won't tell us about their like, you'll hear stories from your aunts and uncles about like, whoa, your dad or whatever back in the day he used to, and it's like, I did not know that. Like he tells me nothing. But like, there's the dad episode where we follow him and his, in his youthful heyday when he first moved to Canada, and mom episode where she kind of like, develops feelings for someone, not exactly romantic, but like after years of a dry marriage, kind of like finds a human connection in someone else. And so because it's kind of like taking all these perspectives and is building towards like a family kind of resolution, that one is more hopeful. I think, that one is more for the times. But for Fishboy, I don't know if it's like, because it's a queer story, I don't want to sugarcoat it. Like I don't want to be like, and the Asian parents fling open their arms and accept their child like wholeheartedly, because that shit takes time, right? But also it doesn't have to be like trauma porn either. So I think it depends on each project, but I do want to always keep in mind the needs of the community, similar to things like Turning Red and Everything Everywhere, and just so much empathy, right? And I think that's definitely what we need right now. Even though generations and a lot of like old wounds can separate us, it inspires conversations between family members today, right? Like, moms talking to their daughters after seeing Turning Red. And I think it's good to keep the community in mind when you're making stuff.
It's true though, because like even last week, Josh and I had an episode where we just talked about Everything Everywhere all at once, and just the internal themes within that, and then the themes within the themes. It was just that's a great way to put it. It's what does your community need at that given point, and how can you bring it to them? On that question though, like, what does Streams mean to you?
I think. Well, for me, it's career-wise, it's all very exciting because it's my first like feature-length thing. So I've only done shorts, and I've only been on set like a few days at a time. But this one was like a 15-day marathon, like I said before, and like I started going to the gym like in the winter to prepare for it, because after we shot the teaser, which was like one day, I was like, oh man, I'm out of shape. Like I'm gonna have to I have to do some cardio, and it was true. Like it was a lot of work, but so career-wise, it's a lot of fun because the Canadian industry is extremely risk averse. Because we have less money, because we're smaller, they want to invest their money on like surefire wins. Nobody's a surefire win. Like that's you never, right? Like, and artists shouldn't have to worry about like, making money back to tell stories and that sort of thing. But because there's less opportunities, that's what Arts Council funds and networks try to bank on. And because of that, I think showing that I can do a feature length thing, showing that putting this on my CV, like I did that, like I directed the whole thing, like I show ran the whole series. That's helpful for me as a stepping stone. I think, on a personal level, it was really, I invited my parents to set for the first time, which was really fun. So they came all the way from Edmonton to Hamilton, Ontario, and they visited set. And it was nice for them, I think, to finally see a bit of what I do. I think my relationship with my parents, it's been strained in the past. I think I'm trying to like invite them into parts of my life in a controlled environment, just so that, retaining boundaries. But it was really great to have them on set, and it was nice. It was really funny because the camera guys were laughing when I called action. In the background, my father, he like threw up his phone and he's like this doing like the Asian dad thing. He's like taking pictures and stuff. It was really cute. But I think, on a personal level, it's kind of like parting the curtain for my family, kind of seeing more of what I do. It's nice to kind of like close that gap with my parents that way.
That's beautiful, man. Like I wouldn't say it's a story solely about them, but of course it's pretty intimidating that they are literally seeing your portrayal of them as they're seeing you portray them. So how did that feeling take?
Well, I mean, there's definitely some fiction there. Like we had a writer's room and the characters were built from everybody's experience. It is funny though, like when my mom met the actress Jane Luke who plays the mom, she was like, "Oh, I'm playing you," which is not true. But I think, my family's pretty indirect. I think that they probably understand that there's elements of them in it. But I think, the whole series is me indirectly talking to my parents and being like, "Hey, this is we got to work stuff out." But I think, I think in that way, it's still closing that distance between me and my parents in a nice way.
Amazing. One of the friends of this show, and I've also worked with her, Jinny Wong, who was in streams. Yeah. Amazing. She just said how much fun she had on set. Also, just how good everyone is and how inviting and just warm the whole set was. So it really does come from the top, of course, you being the creator and the director of all of this, to really steer the ship and to really make beautiful art, but at the same time, not at the cost of other people's like mental health and just being an ally to everyone. So even just from behind the scenes stuff, I know everyone felt really included in your whole project. So I can't wait to watch it one day.
Yeah, thank you. We did our best. It was definitely a struggle. Like we did not have enough money and we were ambitious with what we shot, but I think we really did our best to just like check in with everybody and make sure everyone was okay and heard and seen.
I love it. I also just wanted to also ask you about your prior influences too. So just going back to Japan, you had mentioned that like watching Moonlight was a like life-changing experience that for you. Can you go into how that movie really changed your trajectory into going to filmmaking?
Yeah, I think like I mentioned before, how I was really tired of seeing, I love movies and I love stories and that sort of thing, but I was tired of seeing the same story told over and over again. And just kind of like the more I got in touch with embracing my racial identity, because I grew up in Edmonton and Alberta, and growing up, I was definitely ashamed of being Asian for many years. But then I flipped the script and I was like, why the hell do I feel, why am I the one who has to like feel ashamed? Why don't white people have to deal with this kind of shame? So during the time I was embracing being Asian and doing more reading into like, you know, struggles of Black folks and people of color and civil rights and that sort of thing, my taste changed because I was like, I can't fully identify with white characters or you know, these kind of struggles aren't really the struggles that I have to deal with from day to day. And when Moonlight came out, it blew my mind because it was deconstructing masculinity from the perspective of a person of color in such a beautiful way. And so it was definitely encouraging. I was like, whoa, this is the shit I want to make. Maybe there's a chance. Yeah, so seeing Moonlight was huge. And then watching a lot of Asian cinema, just because it's nice to see, like, not exotifying Asian folks or like aesthetic, but in particular Taiwanese new wave cinema. It's just beautiful. It's just like people living their lives, and yet they still get to be the heroes, right? They're important enough. They're compelling enough. Big inspirations. Yeah.
Oh my God. Which is also kind of cool at the same time, like Drive My Car, which is like a really slow burner, like got nominated for Best Picture. I'm like, whoa.
It's so good. Have you guys seen it?
I haven't yet. Have you, Josh?
I haven't yet either, but I'm pretty sure it's on like Crave or maybe Netflix. Might have been Crave, but I mean, just along that same line, just seeing that Drive My Car from Japan. I remember hearing a lot of like good critically acclaimed for a couple Taiwanese movies as well. South Korea, you know, always killing it. It just seems like now there's a more openness to variety of Asian cinema. It's like we're not just, you know, one specific thematic aesthetic to our films, where we are like a conglomerate of different Asian societies. And looking at your trailer as well, it's interesting to just see different visual styles being incorporated into like an Asian theme plot. So like I definitely got a lot of like Terrence Malick's like kind of perspective in the camera, and then the flowing of the camera was very unique when I saw the trailer. So just seeing those kind of visual elements that we normally see in other films, or maybe like North American white audience specific films in an Asian film, I think is already just kind of mind blowing in and of itself. Just being able to see that, but the story, the plot is, you know, something we can relate to on a more emotional level. I'm wondering then, how often would you kind of try to take from visual cues from things that we're already familiar with and like apply it to your projects or even this series specifically?
I think my director of photography, Alan Liu, we shared a lot of, for streams in particular, is very much family dramas from Asian cinema. So Hirokazu Koreeda's like Shoplifters and stuff, like he's so good. Still Walking, and then Taiwanese new wave like Edward Yang, Yi Yi, and what else? South Korea, there's like an amazing indie movie called Moving On that was just a couple of years ago, female director. But these kind of films, they have a very like restrained, very like it's kind of like art house. It's mostly a budget thing because it's like, you know, you don't have 50 cameras to get all the coverage, but you know, you set up the frame, you paint a beautiful, or you do some really good blocking and lighting, and then you can tell the whole scene from one shot, you know. And we're trying to go for a minimal, simple look, not just to follow the aesthetic of Asian cinema, but also to, I guess, let the actors and the characters breathe, just to the conflict is quiet sometimes. I think that's something that Asian diasporic storytellers have struggled with a lot. It's like, you know, you always get that note. It's like, oh, your protagonist isn't active enough, or like they're kind of boring, or they don't say very much. But like Asian people, we work through a shit ton of stuff inside. Like it's tons and tons of emotions, right? That's just like cultural and how we're raised. And so in that way, we're trying to reflect that in how we shot it, and how long we would hold on a character. Sometimes TV can be very like, okay, you say your line, the camera's on you. You say your line, the camera's on you. But you let the camera linger on someone a little longer, just to be like, what are they thinking after they said that? What's the emotion that they're really feeling, even though they say something else.
It's always that internal monologue that is so present in the non-speaking parts, when you actually get a great reaction shot to something that is said, but there's so many undertones underneath. And I can't wait to see what you capture, man, because it does sound like great writing was involved there too. I just almost want to wrap it up there, but you did say within 2 years, Chris. We're gonna hold you to that, man. Within 2 years there. Of course, you just came back from Banff, and I'm sure you have other festivals lined up later this summer and everything like that. Are you right now in pitching mode for distribution right now, or are you? What are the next steps for streams right now, and hopefully when can we catch it?
Yeah, so streams, we are with Super Channel coming out in the fall, but at the same time we're gonna do some festival runs. Just to try to get it out there internationally and try to get more people to see it. Send it to South by, and even Cannes has a shorts category, which is crazy. So trying to, get it out as much as we can. And for Fishboy as well, like trying to get that into Sundance. It's going to be a busy summer. Like both of them are going to finish editing end of August and then sending out to film festivals for the next half year, and keeping busy. Eventually I'll have to like jump back into writers' rooms to keep the lights on, because rent in Toronto's crazy. Probably in the fall. Maybe I'll go home to visit in the fall too, because it's been a long time. But those are the plans. 2 years, I think it's possible. I'm a Capricorn, so I make like 2 year, 5 year, 10-year plan kind of thing. So, yeah.
Honestly, all the power to all the Capricorns, and make that timeline. Let's make it happen. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Let's give it up for Chris, man. This was incredible.
Thank you.
Oh my God.
Yeah, great conversation. Great conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm stoked to see where you guys go too. I'm rooting for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, 2 years, we could probably still be doing this podcast. So, 2 years, we'll hold you to it, have you back on to the podcast, and see what's happened in 2 years, if not sooner. Yeah.
My goodness. By then your agent would be like, no, I need to speak to them before Lucas DMs you. So
by then maybe we'll all be in LA and we'll all be hanging out with like Rich Brian at like the 88 Rising House or something. Who knows?
Yeah, Rich Brian. Joji, man, I love that group, man. Good people there.
I was trying to get tickets in Toronto. It's like $250 a pop.
It's crazy.
It's insane. Yeah.
Especially compared to the last time they came before the latest time. Like before then is like not as big. Like I think it was a smaller venue, but now this time it's like blew up. Next time is like good luck. Like good luck trying to get some tickets for that.
I'll watch the stream. Online.
I'll watch Twitter as people who are there tweet about it, and it's like, oh, okay, cool, nice.
Yeah, Joji. Honestly, though, Joji is meant to be listened to like in the dark, alone in your bedroom, anyways. So
dancing alone, man, dancing alone. Screw OVO Fest, man. Whatever, I got 88 Rising Fest.
Yeah,
easy.
That's what's up.
Okay, so for season 3, we mixed it up a bit. So I know Chris did his homework. He said you guys do word association at the very end, right? We're like, I kind of wish we did it now, but for season 3, what we do for Josh and I, we do a would you rather to our guests. So Josh has one question, I have one question, and then we'll see where it takes us with Chris here answering the would you rather. you want to go first, Josh?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So my would you rather question is going to be focused kind of on your art and the projects you've been working on. So would you rather your art be more connected with audiences of our generation, or would you rather your art connect more with audiences of our parents' generation? So like, which generation would you like to like watch your work and then get the most out of the message or the visuals, like the catharsis?
Yeah. Well, I mean, very quickly, I think that our parents' generation needs more catharsis because they like, you
Yeah.
see that tweet that was like, people of our parents' generation, they're like, oh my God, you say that she went to therapy. And then like millennials are like, today I talked to my therapist about,
Yeah.
But I think that it's funny, like Everything Everywhere is such an amazing movie. But my parents saw the commercial and they're like, it's just so wild. Like it's so crazy. Like I don't know if we can watch it. And I know like even Michelle Yeoh, right? She was like, I love this strip, but like when we were shooting the butt plug scene, like it was just so much. And I was like, I get that. It's like very, your Asian parents, when they see that kind of stuff, they're just like, so I think like streams in particular is more for the it's more like church auntie safe. So maybe they can get something from it that they would be maybe kind of turned off by Everything Everywhere. I would like both though. I'm greedy. It would be nice to connect with both.
Yeah. That's fair.
Oh man, now that I know you're greedy, I'm not sure how you're going to answer this.
Yeah. Would you rather is a mistake for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I want both. Okay. All right. Would you rather be feared by all or loved by all?
Definitely loved. Because fear is no way to lead or to connect with people. Like I grew up in I grew up with the fear of God. I work in the industry where people put the fear of God in other people. The film industry can be very much like, it's like sports, right? Like where people who have, veterans, they treat newbies and like, just like beginners like shit and just toughen them up. That kind of negative reinforcement. And I really hope that we can like break that cycle with our generation. We don't have to treat people poorly anymore. Like more empathy, more kindness. I think it's possible. It's going to take a lot of work and it takes a lot of emotional labor. But definitely loved. Yeah.
I love how you stuck to one, man. It's perfect.
Thank you.
It's the best. No, drop my pen. Sorry. No, it is true though. It's this industry is at times incredibly punitive, and if you're at the bottom rung of a lot of things, you can get shit on a whole lot harder, and it at times could be abusive. So just be the change you want to see, and I really appreciate you saying that, because we are that generation now that's going into the industry as not the assistants anymore. We are the directors, we are the creators, we are the producers now. So it's up to us to have that same mentality, because it does trickle down. So I love that you said that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You too, Josh. You don't treat the guys who get you water at shows badly, okay?
I like to think that society is best off in a benevolent dictatorship is my is my idea. It's like, if the dictator is just a good guy, I mean, let's keep him. But you just in general be
you're the
guy.
You're the reason that Doug Ford was elected again this year in Toronto. It's just like, he's fine.
I mean, I feel like benevolent dictatorship would have to be like, either taken power or through like the son of a dictator who's, hates their father or mother and how they were, so that they'll just be good because of it. Yeah. But like Doug Ford, I mean, just politically, it's already established within the parties and stuff. So
Anyways, yes,
Yeah.
jealous of you, Lucas, moving to Vancouver. Let's just say that. Yeah.
Come through anytime, man. Anytime. I live in an urban 2-bed. I'll explain what that means off camera. All right. Let's get off for Chris one more time. This was incredible. Thank you so much for coming on, Chris.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, Chris, where can people find you?
I'm on Instagram at Christopher S. Yip and Twitter. Yeah, find me on Facebook too. Why not?
Wicked. And when it does come available and everything like that, where can people find your work and all that stuff too?
It should be on Super Channel in the fall, but that's still pending.
Cool.
You know, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
We find it on Netflix or something, but we'll see. Yeah.
There we are, Chris.
Cool.
Josh, where can people find you?
You can find me at Josh Young, YANG, comedy at Gmail. At Gmail. Why did I give out the email? wait. That's also part of it. You can do that at gmail.com as well if you want to just email me. But handle wise is at Josh Young Comedy across all social media. And then you could also listen to the Sleep with Josh podcast. That's still there. No new episodes of late, but there's 50 episodes up there. So, you could listen to that, help you go to sleep. And that's it. So, Lucas, what are your handles?
People can find me at lucas.john.ng@gmail.com. And if you... And I gotta compose myself. Hold on, holy shit!
No, how could we not want to listen to your podcast when you're such a funny at gmail.com? Well played.
My inbox is lonely, I guess. I just saw it the other day. It's like, why am I not getting any emails?
Oh my god! If you like what you see and hear, you can listen to us on Spotify, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts at HWMIY Podcast. Also, find us on YouTube for all the good video that we have here in our 3 square panel stuff. Yeah, man. All right. I think I got everything right this time.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We'll see you all this time in 2 weeks. Okay, bye.
Bye.